is at last Gordon the Gopher the video. He can be irritating at times, it has to be said. Don't you shake your head at me, but you've got to like him. Hello. This is my attic. It's a bit of a mess, I'm afraid. I'd like to save things. I can never throw anything out, so it's a bit piled up. But Gordon loves it up here. He looks at old photos and old books and things, dresses up. Absolutely loves the place. There's something nasty in the drawer. Oh, it's you. Oh, stop it. Stop messing about. Gordon, what's the matter with you? What are you looking for? A book. It's here. Can you not reach it? What does it say? The Mystery of the Albatross. Thank you very much indeed. This reminds me of another mystery, a nautical mystery last summer. Would you like to know about it? Yes? Okay. It was all your fault, I seem to remember. It normally is. Stop throwing things and pay attention. It's your story. I hadn't seen Gordon for several days, and I was beginning to wonder what he was up to. He was usually up to something that got him into trouble, so I decided to pay him a visit. When I went round to his burrow, he was out, but peering in through a skylight, I saw a pile of library books on his coffee table. There were books about sailing and boating, and suddenly I had this awful sinking feeling. It got worse the next day when Gordon turned up looking far too nautical for his own good, let alone anyone else's. He was wearing a yachting cap, a navy blue fisherman's sweater, and was carrying a blue sailor's kit bag over his shoulder. Oh, you found it. Yes, very good. You look very nautical. It's very nice. Arr, Hill lad, he squeaked in his deepest pirate-type squeak. Avast there, me hearty. Hello, Gordon, I said. I bain't be him nae more. I be Captain Gopher, scourge of the river edge. Belay there and swab the yarn arm. Yes, thank you, Gordon. Do we have to be quite so literal? It's all right, Gordon. I can tell the story, right? Now, where was I? Ah, yes. Captain Gopher, scourge of the river edge. Well, that's a relief, I sighed. For a moment there, I thought you'd gone and got yourself a job as a door-to-door fish finger salesman. No, said Gordon. I've bought a boat, haven't I? Second-hand. Done it all up myself, painted it and everything. It's moored on the river hedge. I thought you might like to come in it for a little adventure. What do you mean, adventure? I asked in alarm. Adventure? Did I say adventure? Said Gordon in a careless sort of a way. I meant to cruise. And he added quickly, I'm the captain, so I get to steer, right? Does that mean I get to steer left? I asked, but he ignored me. So I said, what do I do then? You can be chief engineer, he said. You mean I get to work the engine? Yes, sort of, he replied. Great. So we went off to Shepherd's Hedge Marina. Gordon put an eye patch on, but he kept bumping into things, so I made him take it off again. But I think it adds character, he whined. You've got quite enough character already, I told him. When we got to the marina, it was chock-a-block with all sorts of boats. Is this yours? I asked hopefully, stopping by a luxury cruiser. Nope, he said. Mine's further on. Is this your boat? I asked again, stopping by a small but fast-looking motor launch. No, further down, he said. So we went further and further down, and right at the end of the marina was a small but embarrassingly bright green rowing boat. There, said Gordon proudly. My heart sank. Is this your boat? The Parry Prid, I said, reading the boat's name. The Prairie Pride, corrected Gordon, then in a small voice. I had a spot of bother with the spelling. Where's the engine? I wanted to know. Well, it hasn't got an engine exactly, admitted Gordon, but it's got oars. Oars? Yes, it's a 2-oars power boat, he chuckled. I wasn't amused. Gordon had conned me. He'd asked me all the way just to row his boat for him. Cheek of it. But Philip, he said, the oars are too big for me, and besides, you're not supposed to go boating alone. You've got to go with a grown-up. And you're the nearest thing I could find at short notice. Gordon was right, and it did mean that I could keep an eye on him. All right, I said, I'll row. Hot diggity, he cried. Put this on then, and he gave me a life jacket, because you should always wear a life jacket in a boat, Gordon told me. We put our life jackets on and climbed into the Prairie Pride. Cast off fore, cast off aft, called Captain Gopher. Snap the main brace, Manoeuvring thrusters, Mr. Sulu. Oars full ahead. In, out. In, out. In, out. Faster, ye scurvy Schofield, or I'll have ye keeled all, so I will. Aha! He went on like this for some time until I told him to sit down and stop rocking the boat. How are you doing? You all right? You know, this is very smart. You know, life jacket on. I don't think you're going to need it up here, Gordon. Are you all right in there? Good. I rowed the Prairie Pride out onto the river. Gordon, who was all out of breath now, sat back and had an alfalfa sandwich. It was hard work being the scourge of the river hedge. But being in a boat is not a natural position for a young gopher to be in. And soon, his paws started to itch. His eyes glazed over and he stared longingly at the riverbank. All right, I think you're overacting a bit there now. You can settle down. He was having a burrow attack. And suddenly he started to scratch and scrape at the bottom of the boat. "I've got to burrow," he cried. "Stop the boat," didn't you? Yes. At that moment, water started to spring in through the bottom of the boat. He dug right through. Gordon panicked. "Quick, row faster, head for land. Now, any land. I'm not fussy." "Then start bailing," I told him. I began rowing towards a small wooded island in the middle of the river, whilst Gordon started bailing out with his cap. Faster and faster we rowed and bailed. Then, without warning, we ran aground. It was the island. We were saved. He climbed out and pulled the Prairie Pride ashore. Now we were stuck there with no way off. First shipwrecked, now marooned. I couldn't believe it. Gordon, however, was in his element. "Hot diggity dig," he explained. You say that quite a lot, don't you? Yes. "I'll be Robinson, Gopher, and you can be my man Schofield. We'll explore." And with that, he bounced off into the undergrowth. In it, he came across a number of signs saying things like, "Go away," and "Turn back," and "No milk today, please." And there were holes everywhere, lots of holes. Somebody, it seemed, had been doing a lot of digging. Gordon's curiosity got the better of him. He pressed on and soon came across another sign, but it was the wrong way up. He stepped forward to have a closer look. Twang! Gordon suddenly found himself hanging upside down from a tree with his feet in a noose. But at least he could read the sign now. It said, "Gotcha." Meanwhile, back at the Prairie Pride, I heard his plaintive wail. "Philip! Help!" So I went to investigate. I found him swinging gently in the breeze, upside down. "Oh, there you are," he said. "Can you get me down? I'm beginning to feel a bit sick." "Wait a minute," I said, taking a step forward, and crash! The ground gave way around me. Can you hang on for a minute?" I asked Gordon. "Philip," he hissed quietly, "there's someone coming." It was a wiry old man dressed in raggedy clothes. He stopped and stared at us, and grinning a toothless grin, he said, "What's all this, then? Are you trespassers?" "No, not really," I explained. "You see, our boat sprang a leak, and—" "So you're not trespassers, then?" The old man looked despondent. "No, sorry," I apologized. "Rats!" he exclaimed. "I've always wanted to catch some." "Is there any way off this island?" I asked. "Sort of," he told us. "There's a boat that brings me supplies, but you've just missed it. It only comes once a month." "Wow," said Gordon. "We're really stranded. Great!" "You live here, then?" I asked the old man in amazement. "Yes," he said, and told us his sorry tale. "My name is Sydney, and I've been living on this island ever since I came here for a picnic in 1948. But," he said, "cutting a long story short, I lost me gnashers, me false teeth, and I've been looking for them ever since." "That explains all the digging," squeaked Gordon. "But why the signs and the traps?" I asked.
"Ah," said Sydney, "it's me gnashers. They was made of pure gold."
Gordon and I looked at each other. "Gold?" we said.
"Yes, and I didn't want any treasure seekers finding them before I did I?"
And Sydney went on sadly,
"Oh, I wish I had me gnashers back. It's not easy living on bread and milk for 40 years, you know."
Gordon's eyes lit up. First shipwrecked, then marooned, and now lost treasure. What more could a budding adventurer want? I bet I could find them, he boasted. I'm dead good at digging. Sydney was over the moon with joy as Gordon set out to work, searching the island. He burrowed and dug for hour after hour. He delved, he excavated, he scooped, but he found nothing. He was all burrowed out and just about to give up when he spotted something glinting in the dirt. Somehow he found the energy to scrape it out. It was half a set of false teeth, and they really were made of gold. Then he found the other half. I found them, he cried, waving them in the air.
Me gnashers, me dear old teeth.
Sydney was hardly able to control himself as he took us back to the upturned boat, which was his home. Inside, he gently washed the dirt from his gnashers, and with a sigh of relief, he popped them into his mouth. Thank you so very much, he said precisely, talking properly for the first time in 40 years. And he clicked his teeth together with joy. Just then, Gordon heard something. I heard it too. In height! In height! It was the university rowing team out for a practice. Gordon flagged them down and managed to hitch a lift back to the marina. As we were rowed away from the island, he waved until he disappeared from view. The last thing I remember was seeing the sunlight glinting off his gold teeth. Sidney was a funny old bloke, wasn't he, Gordon? Gordon? Disappeared, or as Gordon would say, absolutely dental. Yes, these are very good. Yes, excellent. Come here. Gordon, come here. Where are you? Come here. Where's he gone? Completely disappeared. Let's get that fixed. Let's clean it up. Oh, you're here already. Good. You haven't seen him by any chance, have you? The Gopher, no? The thing is, he's so small he can hide anywhere. Not there either. It worries me when I can't find him. That's a worry. What's that? Very funny, Gordon. What is it? Sneezing powder. Double strength sneezing powder. Hold on a second. Get a little bit of that in there. Your turn. Oh, it's good stuff, isn't it? As you probably guessed by now, Gordon fancies himself as something of a practical joker. In fact, his favourite shop is Jimbo's Joke Emporium, which is an old-fashioned name for a shop. I know what that is. Whoopee cushion. It's just me. Nuts. You could go mad, couldn't you? Now, one day I was passing the Emporium and saw Gordon's tricycle parked outside and a long line of people waiting to get in. Then I saw the sign. Signing session today, Gordon the Gopher, 3 till 4. Inside, I found an ink-stained Gordon sitting at a table signing copies of a magazine. Hello, Gordon. What's going on? I asked. I'm signing autographs, he declared proudly. He gave me a copy of the magazine. It was the latest issue of Practical Jokers Monthly. In fact, I've got one here somewhere. There it is. This is it here, incorporating Mischief Makers magazine with Gordon's photograph on the front cover. Gordon T. Gopher, Prairie Prankster, exclusive. Interview inside. I was impressed. And Jimbo was over the moon because it meant more business for his shop. In fact, he told me he just had the largest order he'd ever had from a mystery customer. I wonder who wants that many jokes, I said. We were soon to find out. Whoever it was soon made their presence felt. The very next day, a spate of practical jokes were pulled all over town. People washed themselves with soap that turned their faces black, or found fake coins glued to the pavement, and they spent so long trying to pick them up that they made themselves late for work. And some people found plastic flies in their sugar bowls or were frightened by loud bangs and had to be rushed to the nearest cafe for an emergency sit-down and a hot cup of tea. But nobody ever saw the culprit. It was as if the Joker had simply vanished into thin air or gone underground. I thought, there's only one person I know who could cause all this trouble and then disappear underground. Gordon, I shouted through the burrow door. Come out here at once. Just a minute, Philip. I'm washing, getting ready to go out. But I couldn't wait. Gordon, I said in my most serious voice, I think you've gone too far this time. Everyone in town is very upset with you, and I want you to apologize to everyone and... Oh, no. I started to laugh. Gordon came out, all dressed up, ready to go out, but his face was bright green. Well, Gordon felt sick. Hang on a sec. Come here. He's so small he can't get up. Come here. Up there. You're right. Just perch on the edge. You'll be all right. He'd spent hours getting ready to go out dancing, hadn't you? And, of course, I realized that he wasn't responsible for the chaos in town. As he turned around to go back into his burrow, I found a note pinned on his back. It said...
Hee hee hee, ha ha ha. I'm the best practical joker by far. Ha ha ha, hee hee hee. Not even Gordon's better than me.
Now, to Gordon, who considers himself to be pretty hot stuff, practical joke-wise, this was like waving a red flag in front of a bull. Suddenly, Gordon's mood changed. He started to grin a mischievous grin. Oh, no. Now, hold on, Gordon. I hope you're not thinking what I think you're thinking, I said. But, Philip, he began, this could seriously damage my street cred. They'll take my name off the celebrity guest list at Springborough's nightclub. I really don't think it's a good idea, I said. But he wasn't listening. If I don't, I'll be finished, he sobbed. A little over-dramatically, I thought. Finished. Washed up, kaput. And with that, he disappeared into his burrow. Now, where's he gone? The next morning, bright and early, Gordon set out for Jimbo's Joke Emporium. As he strode along, people started calling out to him, Go for it, Gordon! Good luck, Gordon! Everyone stopped and cheered him as he stocked up with essential supplies. In the days and weeks that followed, Gordon and his mysterious rival battled it out on the streets of Shepherd's Hedge. Cafes stayed open extra late to cope with all the people who needed emergency sit-downs and hot cups of tea. Gordon started small, the odd water bomb here and clockwork mouse there. Then garden gnomes started vanishing, and the mysterious Joker would leave notes saying that they'd run off to join the Bolshoi Ballet. Gordon fought back valiantly with a rubber inflatable shark in the town hall fountain. His rival countered with a giant ball of wool at the local meeting of Knitters Anonymous. Eventually, after a rash of exploding trifles for which nobody claimed responsibility, even the cafes shut up shop. After weeks of escalating guerrilla joke fare, the citizens of Shepherd's Hedge finally decided that enough was enough. The mayor was forced to step in and declare a ceasefire.
All pranks must stop forthwith,
he said in his best Sergeant Major's voice.
And in order to decide once and for all who's the best practical joker in town, I declare that the contest be held 1 week from today.
Deep under Shepherd's Hedge Park, the mysterious Joker gloated. It was none other than Morris Mole, leader of the now unpopular Popular Mole Front, and Gordon's arch enemy. Meanwhile, I was helping Gordon to train for the contest. I put him on a strict diet of TV comedy shows, comics, and joke books to keep his humor up. In the mornings, we had custard pie throwing practice, and day after day, he trained, honing his skills until a week later, the evening of the great contest arrived. The town hall was packed and buzzing with excitement. The mayor, who held the honorary title of Grand Chief Chuckler of the ancient guild of jester testers, was the referee.
Ladies and gentlemen,
He announced.
tonight is the champion practical joker contest. In the red corner, we have that perennial practical joker, the prairie prankster himself, Gordon T. Gopher.
Gordon bounced into the ring to loud cheers from the crowd.
And in the blue corner,
Continued the mayor.
we have the master of mirth, the monarch of merrymaking. I give you the mysterious joker, Mr. Morris Mole, Esquire.
There was a stunned silence as Morris entered the ring.
I want a good, clean contest.
Said the mayor.
No jokes below the belt. The best of 3 guffaws or a submission to decide the winner.
The bell went. Was clever. Gordon went into an early lead with a piece of curry-flavoured chewing gum. Morris had to have a chocolate-covered worm bar to take away the taste. He came back with a carton of slime to Gordon's T-shirt. It was neck and neck. I'll keep that up. Gordon followed through with an old arrow through the head trick. The crowd were in hysterics, tears running down their cheeks. Morris dared Gordon to smell a flower in his buttonhole. Everyone, including Gordon, expected it to squirt water. He carefully sniffed and then sneezed. The crowd were on their feet. They thought that Morris had used pepper and caught Gordon off guard. But he hadn't. Knowing that Gordon suffered from hay fever, Morris had used a real flower. He had cheated. Gordon was sneezing so hard that he couldn't continue in the contest. So Morris had won by default. Well, I was shocked. The crowd was stunned. But Morris was too busy gloating to notice. He'd beaten Gordon at last. "I am the champion," he chanted as he went up to collect the trophy. But as he picked it up, a huge yellow snake thing sprang out, suddenly, with a squeak. Everybody laughed. Everyone, that is, except for Morris. "Is this someone's idea of a joke?" he cried angrily. "Because if it is, I don't think it's very funny." Ah, poor old Morris. Too late he discovered his mistake. "It was funny, wasn't it?" He made a half-hearted attempt at laughing, but the mayor stared at him sternly and he stopped again. Morris had the distinct feeling that everything was about to go terribly wrong, and he was right. In a surprise move, the mayor suddenly disqualified him on the grounds that the one thing a good practical joker had to have was a good sense of humor, even when the joke is on him. Morris, quite obviously, failed that test miserably. Then the mayor noticed the real flower in Morris's buttonhole and disqualified him again with knobs on. So the trophy was awarded to Gordon, who was declared champion practical joker, and it sits to this day on his mantelpiece, pride of place. And now life has returned to normal in Shepherd's Hedge, except for the odd gopher-induced raspberry of a whoopee cushion in the library. I left the oven on. No, it's a stink bomb. Poor Gordon! Give that to me. Come here! It stinks! I didn't buy half of this stuff. It's not mine. Guess whose it is? It's got to be Gordon's. I thought I'd better tidy up because this place is getting messier and messier by the minute. Look at this, the house owner's guide. That's not mine. Must be one of Gordon's harebrained schemes for some stage or another. And look at this. I bought him a toolbox and he hasn't even put it away. What's that? That's just me. Mind you, I'm not surprised really because I don't know where half this stuff goes. Oh, it doesn't matter. I am very pleased I don't live in a mess. Unlike Gordon, who, of course, does. So I shall sit here instead. I'll have a word with him later on. A few weeks ago, Gordon got home to his burrow, and it was so messy that he couldn't even find the floor. It was covered with, well, a mess. Now, knowing Gordon the way you do, you'll understand the way he decided to cure the problem. Instead of clearing up, he decided to make his burrow bigger so that he could sort of spread the mess a bit thinner and it wouldn't look so bad. But knowing Gordon the way you do, you'll not be surprised to learn that halfway through, he got bored and he left the job unfinished. He'd always find excuses for not finishing it. It's such a nice day, I think I'll mow the roof, he'd say. Or, I wonder what Philip's doing. Or, I must really write to Mum and Dad and Aunt Agatha and Uncle Harry and, of course, this cousin Pablo, too. I mustn't forget him. Or, I must answer all my fan mail and sign all those photographs. I'll finish the living room tomorrow. But he never did, you see. Tomorrow never comes, does it? Not for Gordon, anyway. Anyway, one day, Gordon was busy creating another mess with the help of a platoon of toy soldiers when suddenly he was showered with bits of soil and dust and a very surprised worm. He looked up and noticed an alarming bulge in the ceiling where he'd started burrowing to make the room bigger, but hadn't finished it. It looked as if it was about to collapse at any moment. Ooh, crumbs, he said. I'll have to prop up the roof with something to stop it falling down. But what could he use? He racked his brain, but couldn't think of anything. So he racked it again just to be on the safe side. Aha! He cried, and dashed into the bedroom where he pulled out several large plastic bags and a box from under the bed. They were full of records by a group called the Rolling Gophers. Now, he'd bought hundreds of them to try and push their song, The Long and Winding Burrow, into the pop charts. It didn't work, and Gordon got stuck with loads of useless records. Useless until, of course, now. Frantically, he piled them one on top of the other until they reached the ceiling, and they were wedged tight against the bulge. There, that ought to hold it for a while, he said. Then he went to look for his tools so that he could fix it properly. But the tools weren't in his toolbox, which isn't surprising because he rarely puts anything back when he's finished with it. They weren't in the bathroom either. Well, you never know, he thought. And they definitely weren't in his toy box. How was he going to finish the job without tools? He thought for a moment and then said the magic word. Philip. Philip's got a shed full of tools, he said, so he dashed round to borrow some. When he arrived, I was in the middle of being interviewed by Music Squeak magazine. Now, they sent round a part-time fashion reporter to do an article about me. She was a very trendy young reporter by the name of Glenda the Gopher. I hadn't told Gordon about it because I knew what would happen. Gordon loves publicity. And if there's a limelight going, he'll hog it. He can't help it. Cooey, Philip, he called, crashing in through the back door. Oh, no, I groaned. Philip, said Gordon, have you got any tools I could... Ah, he spotted Glenda. Hello, are you doing an interview? You are, aren't you? And he bounded over and introduced himself. Hi, he said, oozing as much cool as he could muster. I'm Gordon the Gopher. Can I have an interview too? Glenda looked Gordon up and down. He was covered in dust and dirt. I don't think she was too impressed, to be honest. Surely he wasn't the sharp, hip Gopher everyone had heard about. Gordon, I hissed, this is my interview. The tools are in the shed, okay? Now burrow off. There's a good fellow. Sorry about the interruption, I said, turning to Glenda. Quite all right, Mr. Schofield, she replied sweetly. These things are sent to try us. I've seldom seen Gordon so upset, rejected and dejected. He sighed and trudged off into the shed, mumbling as he went. Well, it was worth a try. Glenda and I tried to get back to the interview, but a moment later there was a loud banging and clattering and squeaking from the shed. Seconds later, he was back. He wasn't going to give up on an interview that easily. He peered around the door in a tangle of extension leads holding on an electric drill. I was just thinking, he said hopefully. Gordon, I scolded. No, I really was, he went on. What this story needs is a little human interest. Meaning you, I suppose, I said. Why not? He said modestly. Because you're not human, I suggested. Well, he said, if you're going to be like that, then fate stepped in. And what makes you so interesting anyway? Demanded Glenda. Oh, it was a fatal mistake. I thought you'd never ask. Glenda looked on in disbelief as Gordon struggled to get untangled from the extension leads. I've done things you wouldn't believe, he boasted, and promptly dropped the electric drill on his foot. I can believe it, Glenda said sarcastically. And, I'm the best-dressed gopher in Europe, he continued, hopping over and trying to rub his hurt foot at the same time. Of course, he failed miserably, tripped over a loop of loose lead and keeled over in a heap at Glenda's feet. Best dressed? She mused. I can see, as she looked down at Gordon's grubby T-shirt. I helped Gordon untangle himself, and he tried to explain that the reason he wasn't the best-dressed gopher today was that he was doing some DIY. That stands for dig it yourself, said Gordon, and explained his plans for enlarging his burrow. But Glenda said that if he knew as much about DIY as he seemed to know about fashion, then he was going to need a lot of help. Are you offering, he asked. Well, I do know a bit about interior design, Glenda admitted hesitantly. What's into a thingy? Whispered Gordon. I told him it was like decorating, only trendier. He was very impressed. This into what's it, he said to Glenda. Could it make your burrow look really cool? Oh, yes, said Glenda, who, never having seen Gordon's burrow before, didn't realize what she was saying. Do you think you could give me a few tips, then? He asked. I'd have to see it first, she said. No problem, he told her. It's just round the corner. So grabbing her hand, he pulled her off. He had hijacked my interview. When they reached his burrow, Gordon ushered Glenda inside, eager for her professional verdict. What do you think? He said proudly. It's a bit on the dingy side, she said. It could do with another skylight, and the place is an absolute tip. She was right. There were toys all over the floor, and books and comics everywhere, and clothes anywhere but in the right place. I don't know how you can find anything. Besides which, it's dangerous, Glenda warned. You could have an accident. You should put things away. But I know where everything is, protested Gordon, and it's not dangerous at... Ah! He stepped on a skateboard he'd left lying about, careered across the room, hit a toy truck, sailed through the air, and crashed straight into the pile of rolling Gopher records that were propping up the roof. Uh-oh, he said, as the pile collapsed into a heap of smashed hits. Then there was a deep, earthy rumble, and Gordon had just enough time to say, uh-oh, again, before the roof caved in. When the soil had settled and the dust had cleared, there was a dirty great hole in the roof. There, said Gordon weakly. You said I needed a new skylight. But Glenda wasn't at all pleased. There were dirty black smudges all over her trendy clothes. What a mess. Gordon was feeling very sorry for himself. I know, he thought. I'll go for the sympathy vote. Ah! Oh! I think I'm hurt. Oh, I do feel funny. Oh, ah! He overacted badly. Can you do first aid? I have to go to hospital, you know. But then he thought about it and said, no, I won't. They may have to give me an injection. Glenda looked him over. He really wasn't hurt at all, she decided. But she'd had an idea. She'd get her own back on Gordon for ruining her outfit. Where do you keep your first aid kit, she asked. In the kitchen, replied Gordon nervously. Surprisingly, it didn't take her very long to find it. She looked inside. Good, everything I need, she thought. She started to bandage Gordon's ankle first, then his legs, his arms, his face, and she kept on bandaging him until he was all wrapped up like an Egyptian mummy. Oh, no, he cried. How serious is it? Glenda propped him up against the sideboard, stood back, and smiled. You're not hurt at all, are you? She said sternly. But it serves you right for ruining my clothes. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, apologized Gordon. He looked so helpless and funny that Glenda had already forgiven him, but she wasn't going to tell him that, not yet anyway. I'll ring you about the dry cleaning bill, she said with a smile, and then she left. No, wait. You can't leave me here, not like this. Help, please, wait. But she was already on her way to tell me what had happened. I thought I'd better go and rescue him after we finished the interview. Actually, I wonder what he's up to now. He's very quiet. Ah! Oh, yes. Very funny, Gordon. This is a humorous one, isn't it? I bet I know who's on the end of this as well. There you are. Now, come here. Come here. Come here. You've got to put this toolbox away. And you've got to untangle me, Gordon. At least come and give me a hand. Where did that go? Oh, hi. I'm taking advantage of the quiet. A good book and a cup of coffee. He's not around. You haven't got any idea where he is, by any chance, have you? Makes me very nervous. There's one thing having a gopher around the place. When you can see it, you know what's going on. When you can't see it, then that's when it gets a little bit worrying. He makes me very nervous when I can't see him.
Yes, well, that's very funny, isn't it? Cheap old gag, Gordon, though, I have to say. Spider is not up to your usual standards. Now, come down here and have a look at a video. I've got a video I want to show you. Come down. Mind you'll fall. I'll give you a hand down in a second. Wait a minute. Right. This is the Gopher of the opera. And Gordon will love it because Gordon is in it. I'll give you a hand down. Let me start it off, all right? Don't swing from up there. You'll fall. Here. Have a look at this.
Oh, hope this thing works. Battered old thing. You'll like this. It began, like many things, down in Gordon's burrow. Being underground, he'd been having problems with his television reception, and this particular evening, his picture had gone up the spout 10 minutes before Hill Squeak Blues, which is his favourite programme, which is why, moments later, he was standing on my doorstep wearing his cutest, most ingratiating smile. "All right," I said, "come on in, you know where it is." "Thanks, Philip," he said, and he scrambled for the TV remote. There was an audible sigh of relief as his paws closed about it and he flopped down into his favourite beanbag. The television flared into life, and Gordon sat there all evening mesmerised, shoveling alfalfa-flavoured crisps into his mouth with one paw, while changing channels with the other paw, avoiding the commercials with all the consummate skill of a downhill slalom skier. I watched, appalled. Gordon the Gopher was turning into a TV addict. There was only one cure. Gordon needed a good, strong dose of culture with a capital C. And I looked through the arts and entertainment section of the local newspaper, which I just happen to have here. It's called the Shepherd's Hedge Bugle, and I found what I was looking for. Here it is. It says, "The Shepherd's Hedge Opera House proudly presents The Hairdresser of Seville. Opening night this Wednesday, 7:30. Dress formal." "Gordon, we're going to see an opera," I declared. "Oh," he says. There was a short pause, followed by, "So what's an opera, then?" "It's a play," I told him, "you know, where they sing rather than speak." Gordon didn't seem too taken with that idea, so I tried a different approach. The royal family go to the opera quite a lot," I mentioned casually. Gordon was impressed. "Oh, there you are. I've been looking for you." He respectfully wiped his greasy paws on his T-shirt and said, "The royal family, really? Well, all right, I could go for some of that then, didn't you?" I can remember you saying that. "It's formal dress," I told him, "so you'll need your dinner jacket and a bow tie, and I'll pick you up at 7 o'clock Wednesday evening." Well, I was ready by 7 o'clock Wednesday evening, but when I called round at Gordon's burrow, he was having problems, weren't you? "Is this bow tie?" he called up from the inside. I can't get it to... "Here," I said. "Try this," dropping one of my old elasticated bow ties down the hole. There was a caw, "Thanks, Philip," a twang and an ouch in rapid succession. Then Gordon appeared, dressed in his dinner jacket, his dress trousers, bow tie, and his red baseball boots. He insisted on giving me a twirl. Didn't you? It's very smart, very smart. "Yes, great, smashing, very debonair, very posh," I told him. "Now, hurry up or we'll miss the bus." When we arrived at the Opera House, the foyer was already bustling with people waiting to take their seats. "It looks like the cream of Shepherd's Hedge society's here tonight," I told Gordon. And Gordon said that knowing Shepherd's Hedge, it was quite probably just condensed milk. We only just managed to sit down before the house lights faded and the overture began. Then, as the curtain went up and the first act started, there was a sudden crunch and a rustle beside me in the seat. "Want some?" said Gordon, thrusting a rather loud bag of popcorn underneath my nose. Scolded a man in the row behind us. "I'm sorry about that. I decided that perhaps it would be a wise move to confiscate the popcorn until the interval, so I did." Gordon sighed wistfully and sat back in his seat to watch the opera. But within half an aria, he was bored. Now, a bored gopher is an unpredictable gopher, and I didn't realise that he had a block of bubble gum in his pocket, but he did, and he began to chew it. And he began to blow bubbles with it. Then he thought he'd go for the record and blow a really big bubble. Needless to say, when he did, it exploded. Gordon shrugged and smiled sheepishly as I tried to peel the bubblegum off his face, which plastered itself all over it, but it wouldn't come off. It had stuck fast to his fur. Well, it's your own fault. Look what happens if you won't keep still, I hissed. You better go to the bathroom and try and wash it off with some hot soapy water and come straight back. So off he went. Well, I didn't know he was going to get lost, did I? But he did. After several wrong turns, Gordon found himself in a dimly lit corridor, with the bubblegum already beginning to harden and contort his features into something less than his usual handsome profile. It's no good, he said to himself. I'm lost. Not that he was worried. I mean, what could possibly happen in an opera house, right? Gone was the posh flocked wallpaper, the velvet drapes and the carpeting. Here, it was all peeling paintwork and pipes, old props. And he could hear the faint sound of singing coming from above. Somehow, he'd wandered into the very bowels of the opera house, beneath the very stage itself. There he saw 4 stagehands sitting round an old table playing cards. This time, he would just sort of saunter up and cough politely. He thought. And he was about to do just that when he spotted his own reflection in a mirror. The sight of his bubble-gummed-up face gave him such a shock that he let out a startled yelp. The stagehands turned towards the noise. A ghost! The phantom! Run for it! They cried. So they did. Hello, fellas, squeaked Gordon to the now empty storage area. He sighed, a deep, melancholy Gopher sigh. Then he brightened up when he saw, could it be? Yes, it was an elevator, at last. He stepped onto the platform, pushed a large lever by its side. Ka-ching! Gordon was suddenly rocketed through a trapdoor and onto the stage in the middle of Act 2 of The Hairdresser in Seville. With a loud squeak, he flew up into the air, where he paused for a brief moment before plummeting back down and disappearing through the trapdoor again, leaving chaos and consternation in his wake. Meanwhile, below the stage, Gordon apparently was no longer alone. Something coughed. Gordon whirled around and came face to face with a ghost. Ah! He cried in horror. Oh! Cried the ghost when it saw Gordon's face and promptly vanished into a brick wall. Was it you? It asked suspiciously. Was it me what? Said Gordon, still trying to catch his breath. Scared them blokes off. There's such a thing as union demarcation, you know. I turned me back for 5 minutes and woof, they're gone. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to. The ghost floated out of the wall. Here, you're not the haunt inspector, are you? It asked. Oh, no, said Gordon. I'm Gordon the Gopher, not Gordon the Ghost. God, blimey. I thought you was the haunt inspector for a minute, because I'm not a ghost myself yet. You're not, said Gordon quizzically. You could have fooled me. No. I'm only a spook, see? A trainee ghost, said the spook. I've just started. It'll be another 2 centuries before I make ghost. Then in 5 centuries, who knows, maybe even phantom. But the problem is, I'm useless at haunting. Gordon, however, had an idea. Since he'd been wandering about in his bubblegum, he explained he'd scared a number of people. Rumours were bound to start. So all the spook had to do was to cash in on them by making a few judicious manifestations, and voila, one well-haunted opera house. Brilliant, mate, brilliant, said the spook. Thanks, you're a real lifesaver. Oh, lifesaver, Gopher, is my little joke, you understand. Don't mention it, said Gordon. But if you could direct me back upstairs. The spook was only too happy to oblige. Gordon followed his directions, well, as many of them as he could, and eventually found himself backstage during the interval. But now, he was lost again. Gordon wandered about aimlessly until he heard voices coming from behind the dressing room door. Inside, the manager and the cast were in a state of panic. Antonio Tagliatelle, the lead singer, had got the hiccups and couldn't get rid of them. They tried patting him on the back. They tried hanging him upside down in the wardrobe while he drank a glass of water backwards, but nothing worked. Of course, what he really needed was a short, sharp, excuse me, shock. Ah! Cried Antonio in perfect C-sharp when he saw Gordon. But before Gordon could even begin to start making excuses, the door to the dressing room opened and Antonio Tagliatelle himself stepped out, picked Gordon up, kissed him on both cheeks, despite his bubblegum, and said, "Thank you, a small furry thing. You cure my hiccups. Now the opera he saved. Thank you, thank you."
Well, of course, I couldn't believe it. It could only happen to Gordon. He seems to have this uncanny ability to wriggle out of trouble. I told you about it a little bit earlier on. I expect it's something to do with burrowing out of tight corners and all that sort of thing. But I'll tell you something, though. Come here. It's the last time I'm taking Gordon to the opera. Next time he can go on his own. If he can tear himself away from the TV, that is, because thanks to Gordon and his Gopher of the Opera act, The Spook went on to the Ghoul Awards in Transylvania, where it picked up 2 Igors for Best Overall Fright and Best Supporting Moan. And in recognition of its exemplary theatre haunting tactics, it was actually promoted to full ghost. Then it returned to the Opera House, which it continued to haunt successfully until it was turned into a bingo hall. After that, he moved on to a much bigger, much better, more prestigious theatre to haunt. In fact, it could be this one. Gordon? 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 Gordon! Well, I thought that was very good. Excellent. Your acting is getting better and better.
No way, Gordon. Not more bubblegum. I got into enough trouble with it last time. Very good. And I'm not cleaning it off your face. Go and do it yourself. Serves you right. Gordon? Gordon, where are you? Ow! I can't see you. Where are I? Don't be so silly, Gordon. I am not in the mood. Sometimes he is so annoying he doesn't know when to be serious. See what I mean? Look at this. Look what he's done. I know it's difficult to look because it's dark. All the lights went out about 10 minutes ago. Do you want to know why we're in this mess? Yes, you're right. Gordon, your fault. Always your fault. Yeah. It all started a few weeks ago. I'll start at the beginning. That's the best place to start. Gordon is a big noise in animal politics. Not only is he the leader of the Gopher Party and Prairie Minister at the House of Burrows, he is also the intrepid leader of the first Borough of Commons Gopher Cub Pack. A few weeks ago, when he was feeling very intrepid indeed, Gordon organised a camping trip, a weekend at Bilberry Farm. He asked me if I would go along with them, as they had to be accompanied by a responsible adult. You'll pass for one if you don't mess about too much, he said. I'll go on one condition, I said, ignoring his insult. No adventures. But, he began. No buts, I said firmly. No adventures. All right, he sighed. Leave it to me. That, I told him, is just what I was afraid of. The day of the camping trip arrived, and I called round to Gordon's burrow to pick him up. Just coming, he shouted. He scrambled up out of the hole. Well, he said, what do you think? Pretty intrepid, eh? I had to admit that in his uniform he did look pretty intrepid. We met up with the rest of the pack at the bus stop. There was a hamster and there was a rabbit from the Domesticated Democratic Pets Party, 2 hedgehogs from the Hedgerow Alliance, and, well, there were all sorts of things. I looked at my watch and the coach was late. Gordon put his ear to the ground. It was obviously some ancient prairie scout trick. It's coming, he said. It's a 4-wheeled, 12-seater, and it's blue. Amazing, I said. You can tell all that just by listening. Oh, no, he said. That's the coach I booked last week, and it's coming around the corner. The coach trip seemed to whiz by because we were all very excited and talking about what we would do at the camp. The coach dropped us off some way from Bilberry Farm, and we were going to walk the rest of the way. Gordon said it was the intrepid thing to do. Right, men, this way, he said, and led us off down a windy country lane in single file. Very soon we came to a crossroads. Gordon took out his map and studied it intently. This way, he said. Wagons ho. So off we hoed. We hoed, and we hoed, and we hoed, but there was no sign of the farm. We seemed to be walking round in circles, so I asked Gordon for the map. There's no wonder we were lost. Gordon, this is a map of Tibet. Well, he said sheepishly, the map shop said they were having a sale. Anyway, it's a much more exciting map because it's got all these neat mountains and things. There's not much use here, though, is it? I said.
Well, no, he admitted. But in Tibet, well, I gave up and asked at a nearby farm for directions to the camp. But by then, it was getting late and everyone was tired and it was too far to walk to Bilberry Farm that night. Luckily, the farmer gave us permission to camp in one of his fields overnight. Gordon offered to help put the tents up, but I politely declined his offer. The thought of Gordon with a mallet in his paws sent shivers down my spine. Not now, okay? Okay? Right. With the tents up, Gordon decided that he was going to take first turn at cooking. You do know what you're doing, don't you? I asked, lighting the fire for him. Of course I do, he said, and he put a saucepan on the campfire, and then he started exploring the camp and talking to everybody. Funny, said Gordon, beans don't usually smell like that. So we had a choice of burnt baked beans or charred alfalfa grass for dinner. Nobody was very hungry. Night fell, and we all gathered around the campfire to sing jolly camping songs and things. Gordon gave us a rendition of an old prairie song, but couldn't remember the title. After we'd sang a few more songs, he said, "Uh-oh, I've remembered the title of the song. Sorry." "What are you sorry about?" we all asked. "It was the Prairie Rain song." There was an ominous rumble of thunder, and it began to rain. Did I say rain? It poured down. We dashed for our tents and settled in for a long, cold, damp, miserable night. This camping trip, I decided, was rapidly turning into a disaster. The next day dawned bright and early, and so did Gordon, partly because he wanted to blow the bugle for a valley. He gave the bugle a long, hard blast.
Oh, Gordon!
Stop it. I am trying to tell a story. Okay? Okay, go away. I awoke with a start. "What's up?" I said. "Breakfast, I hope," said Gordon. I'd just about got the fire going when Gordon dashed up. "Philip," he said, "have you got any, He sneezed so hard he blew the fire out. It seemed he got a little bout of hay fever. I searched for the tissues. Too late. Gordon was going to sneeze again. He sneezed so hard he blew his woggle off. A frantic search was mounted. Woggleless, Gordon stood hopelessly in the middle of the field, whistling and calling out, "Here, woggle, woggle. Here, woggle, woggle." The first burrow of Common's pack started a hedge-to-hedge inquiry, but no one had seen the missing woggle. It was well and truly lost. Gordon was frantic. "It was a family heirloom," he explained, "made of real silver." Poor Gordon. Well, there was nothing to be done about it, so reluctantly we started to pack up, and Gordon, still sneezing, struggled with the tent. Suddenly, there was a strong gust of wind. It caught Gordon's tent, turning it into a makeshift hang glider, and Gordon was whisked away up into the air. "Gordon," I cried, "come down here at once." But the wind just took him higher and higher and further and further. Everyone gave chase, keeping to the paths across the farmland and remembering to shut the gates after us. Meanwhile, Gordon was having problems. The wind suddenly dropped and the tent was diving towards a small wood. He shut his eyes tight. And when he opened his eyes, the tent had come to rest at the top of a tall tree, and Gordon was hanging from a branch. "Hang on," I said. "I'll get you down." But Gordon had noticed something shiny in a bird's nest a few feet away. "My woggle!" he cried. "It must have been picked up by a jackdaw. They like shiny things." He tried to reach out for it, swinging to and fro, and then he let out a yell. "I've got it!" There was a loud crack and the branch snapped, and Gordon tumbled down through the tree and fell on top of me. "Are you all right?" I asked. "I'm fine," he said, putting his woggle back on, leaving me sitting in the mud, breathless. We managed to finish packing without anything else happening and marched off to Bilberry Farm. When we got there, we found that our space had been given to someone else because they thought we weren't coming. That was the last straw, so I took a straw vote. Everyone had had quite enough camping for the present, and we all decided to go home. Well, I was looking forward to a nice, warm, comfortable sleep in my own bed tonight, when there was a knock at the door. It was Gordon, and he was carrying a tent. "Can I camp in your garden tonight?" he asked. "My burrow is flooded."
You must be joking, I gasped. You can use the spare room. Thanks, he said, and went upstairs. A few moments later, I heard a banging above my head. Gordon was putting up his tent in my spare bedroom and nailing the guy ropes to the floorboards. "Gordon, stop!" I shouted. But of course, too late. He knocked a nail right through the water pipe and flooded the house. And the water made the lights go out. "I'm sorry," he said. "These little adventures will keep happening, won't they?" "I know," I sighed, and went to phone the plumber and the electrician. "Ah, there you are. This is another fine mess you've got me into. The plumber can't come until tomorrow, and the electrician can't come because it's his birthday. Marvellous. Thank you. Oh, and now the gas has gone out. It's all right, don't worry, I've got a torch. I've got the torch. Oh, Gordon, it's gone. What was that? I'm not nervous, are you? What? You're supposed to be the brave one. No, sorry, stick together, stick together. Woggle looks good, by the way. Stick together. Maybe we should camp in the garden. Yes, I think it's a very good idea.